I'm going to talk today about praising your enemies. Now, I know this sounds a bit strange and you're probably thinking, Jay, what are you talking about? Why on earth would I praise my enemies when they've given me such a dark time, given me such a bad situation, and have not been there celebrating me or being around me? But stay tuned, I will explain why you can use those negative energies in order to help boost you forward and help with your transformation to move forward in the sight of God. So I'll see you after this intro. So welcome back. My name's Jay. I'm from Karnak Holistics, where we learn together and of course we grow together in the sight of God. So today I'm going to speak about praising your enemies. And as I said at the beginning, why on earth would we praise our enemies? Let me just explain roughly why I wanted to do this video. So I wanted to try and point out that even though you're going through some of the most darkest times in your life and you've got friends who turned against you, your partner's left you and they've probably cheated or they've just moved away, or that all your best friends or your friends have no longer want to be part of you, and there is negative stuff that's out there about you, use that energy in order to keep striving forward. As long as you know it's not true, God will be your vindicator. So at the end of the day, people are going to always talk about you. My dad's always said to me, people talk and people have to talk. They're going to constantly say stuff about you. As long as you stay in the sight of God and you stand His protection and you stay honorable and true to yourself and true to other people. So when these people say negative things about you, that you're still going out there honoring God and honoring yourself, and then you're helping those who need you. Let them carry on saying stuff about you. Let them saying how bad and how you treated them was not right. Because remember, sometimes it's their own opinions of themselves, own versions of themselves that they're transmitting or projecting onto you. And one of the greatest places they do this is normally on social media. And sometimes they also do it amongst other friends and obviously turn certain friends against you or even members of your family. But the important thing is, as long as you know you're true, you would always have one powerful ally and no one's greater than Him. So as you've heard me in the past say, if God is before you, who dare be against you? So in Psalm 118, it says, the nations will compress me, but in the Lord's name, I shall destroy them. So basically what that psalm is saying is that many people are going to come up against you. People always going to find something. You're not going to please everybody. And the truth is like, as long, again, as I said, as long as that you're true to yourself and you're holding yourself up, be honorable, respectable, help those that still need you. When it's raining outside, still walk with a smile of joy. Smile. There's nothing worse to really pee somebody off is constantly smiling and being in a good place when they're trying to hurt you. And when it's sunny outside, praise God. Show the universe, show everybody that God is great. And at the end of the day, let me just say about my son, my youngest son, right, when he was leaving secondary school, he was going through a bit of a hard time. I wasn't around much because I was in hospital. I was really ill. It was tough on his mum, and he just went from bad school to bad school, ended up in a really bad school. So about years later, when I got better, it was about a year later I got better and I was in recovery. I stepped in because I was in a better state to help. But my prayer, I was still being told information while I was still obviously in hospital. I never gave up faith that he will turn around and he will be honoring God or he will turn his life around, because two reasons. One reason is that he's my son. The second thing, and he's been raised right. The second thing is that I know God is with him. So every day I said prayers for him. I said to God, he's a good boy. You know his heart. He's just lost. Guide him. Let me skip a couple of years later. He decided to work with vulnerable children, and he started helping vulnerable children, and he spent about 2 years supporting those, and now he's in a position of service where he's servicing the community, and he's the first member of my family, of my children, who has given me my first grandson, so my first blood grandson. So at the end of the day, that was in a space of 5 years, 5 to 6 years, this boy turned his life around. He met a beautiful woman who supported him, and they supported each other, and they are a credit to themselves. But above all, no matter, even though I said prayers for him and my prayers are answered, above all, the credit goes not just to God, obviously it goes to God, but it goes out to him, because he's the one who could have carried on going the dark ways. He knew that it was a matter of time that he knew in his heart that he was a child of light, and he knew that the stock he grew from, though it may have been sometimes upheaval and a bit of a bad time, he knew the soil that he was brought up in was a loving soil. We loved him no matter what. And I remember saying to him, look, I would love you no matter what you do. I would always support you what you do, and I'm sure your mum would do the same. But don't walk with enemies. Don't turn around and make enemies of people. If someone hates you or dislikes you or don't want nothing to do with you, and they just turn on you for whatever reason, no matter how much you've helped them, no matter what you've done in the past, be honorable and respectful to yourself and to them. Praise them, praise your enemies, because that negative energy, I'm telling you for a fact, that negative energy will flip around for you, and it would help you to advance forward. But if you decide to walk down the dark path, and you're going through the valley of the shadow of death, and you decided to stick in the valley because it seems easier for you, you're going to stay there, and then you're going to feel the pain, and you're going to feel it tenfold. But if you stay honorable, respectful, as God says in Psalm, I think it was actually Psalm 23, but it says, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and it says, he prepares a table in the presence of my enemies. So therefore, the prayers you put out there, the belief you have in yourself, the belief you have in God will magnitude and unfold for you. Trust me, I've seen it. In Psalm 119, verse 7 to 8, it says, I shall praise with a righteous heart, and I will be learned with righteous judgment. So therefore, with righteous judgment and with righteous heart, long as your heart is pure and what you believe is to be, because God knows your heart, he knows you better than you know yourself, because it's a fact. You never came from your mother, you came through your mother. You came from God. So God knows you better than you know yourself. So allow yourself to be in that. If you're in a dark place, rejoice. Remember when I said before my other video, I said, look, if it's bad and you're having a bad time, still honor and praise God. Because we have a tendency to keep praising him when things go right, but then blame him when things go wrong. And I've been going through one of the most darkest times of my life the last couple of weeks, and it has been so dark for me. And I've been unsure which direction to go in, and one thing I haven't done is blame him. One thing, and it's a fact, I'm not joking, it's a fact. And out of that, people have stepped forward, almost kind of like earth angels, and rallied around me to give me love, guidance and support. And I believe if I was dark and I just begun hating and turned dark because I could cause a lot of pain and I've done this in my past through my spirituality, and I own that, because when you're young and naive, you use your spirituality to have an ego, and that ego does catch up with you. But I've just said, you know what? I open my heart, and as I said in my last video, I went to see my mum, and I was there weeping for guidance and support, feeling very alone. But I know that the greatest thing, I can't even explain it, the greatest thing was to learn to forgive. Now, when I say you forgive somebody, right, when you forgive somebody, it doesn't mean that you have to still walk with them, okay? So many people think when they forgive somebody that they're gonna be still in their circle, or they think they're gonna still put up with some of the crap they're doing. No. Forgive that person, because what it does, it takes the ownership from you and it's given over back to them. And then once you've forgiven them, yeah, and you've given out your forgiveness and it goes to the Almighty goes, okay, well, it looks like Jay's forgiven and John's forgiven, Sally's forgiven, so let me take their pain. Takes their pain, places it on his altar, and judgment and karma is given. Now, I'm not saying you do karma, you do this in order for the person to get karma, because remember, you need this to do this with an open heart. You can't fake it to make it with God. That's a fact, right? You can't lie, because it will come back on you. So don't be going and sending me messages saying, look, I've done the whole forgiving and forgetting and letting it go and all that lot, and then yeah, I'm still getting for a bad time, it's got worse. You know what? This has to come from a place of love. I know it sounds hard and you probably hate people who've hurt you, and when you're in the darkest time and the lowest places, you turn around and you say, you know what, I just want to punish them. But you're no better than they are, honestly. I'm telling you, you're no better than they are. Some of the most powerful people on the planet has forgiven. When Jesus was hanging on the cross, remember, he was battered, kicked, spat on, stabbed, whipped, dragged through the street. Jesus, right? Nailed to the cross, right? Nailed to the cross. And then his last words was what? Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they have done. How powerful is that? Forgiven of sins. And that is, when I remember watching that, I thought, oh my gosh, there's a part when if you watch The Passion of Christ, and some people disbelieve it and think it's wrong, but what I'm trying to get to, what I'm trying to explain is how brutal sometimes, obviously, crucifixions were. And if you can encapsulate and put yourself in that situation, because you are going through a kind of crucifixion when you're being crucified, when people are saying bad things about you, especially if they're untrue. And say, for example, you decided to come out to be gay or a lesbian, or I don't know if that's the right terminology, or you decided to follow your heart, and because this is you feel is what's right for you. And I know many people are probably going to disagree with what I'm saying, and then you get negative people that are saying negative things about you. Okay, long as you stay true to yourself, God will stand with you, and God will stand with you. I know many people who are gay or homosexual and so on, and they live in fear. They live in fear because they want to live in society, because they don't want to be vindicated and bullied. But I know others who have stepped forward and have faced that, but they've turned around and said no. And they children of God, they go preaching, believe it or not, they go preaching, and say if you're a person of color and you're living in a predominantly, say, white neighborhood and you're a person of color, but you obviously, or you're working in a predominantly white company, and then you get the little jokes. I used to get, oh, one day I'll be dark as him, or you would get, do you go dark in the sun, right? Now, that is, for me, it goes to show how stupid these people are. And you just have to laugh at them, really, because they are thick. They are really utterly thick. Racism is the form of ignorance, and it goes to how thick these people are. And it's a fact. It's a fact. If they turn around and are thinking that's funny, and I think it's a joke, flip it. If it was them, and they were in a place, and they were the only white person in a black company, how would they feel? And I knew somebody who kind of thought, oh, it's not that bad, blah, blah, blah. Black people just overreacting. And then they had to go into a room, and they're all white, and had to go into a room full of black people. They feel so so conscious of their color, but they never got the little, oh, look, there's a white person there. They're all welcomed into that space. So the reality is like, if you're going to carry on being in a dark place, and then you're just putting that darkness on you, every 60 seconds of negativity is a minute you've lost of happiness. That's a fact. You need to step up and show these people how powerful you are, because you are representing not just yourself, but you are representing God. And God, without, you know what? The trigger for God to step forward and for him to help you is for you to turn around and walk with your head up, respectable, and go, No, I'm right. I believe what I believe, and this is what I'm going to be like. This is what I'm going to do. Let these naysayers speak negative things about you, and let it fuel this energy in you. You know, all my life, I remember laying in hospital, severely ill, dying. Honestly, swear to God, I was dying, right? And I still had people, some members of my family even, still talking darkness about me for crying. And that goes to show how stupid these people are. I fear no man. The only person I fear is God. I fear not being alone, because I've been alone. You know, I fear no man, and I fear nothing. I only fear God. And if God turns around as I'm speaking on his behalf or speaking for him, because I really feel today, above all, is to let it go. Man, let it go. Because when you let it go, that's the trigger for God to go, right, John, Simon, Keith, Janet, Susan, all these people who are probably in these places, they're not people I'm just picking out, who I know, I'm just saying these names randomly. These people who are going, you know what, I'm backed into a corner, learn to forgive. And that's when they go, right, okay, I'm going to now step up as their big brother or as their dad, and God will go, right, I'm going to take over and I'm going to deal with these people. You know, and that's how it works. That's the trigger to get God to step up and step forward. Because if you're doing it in your own strength, you're going to struggle. Trust me, you're going to struggle. You know, and there's nothing worse than being lonely and on your own. You know, and I know a lot of people don't want to be alone or lonely, but it sometimes happens, and there's something you can't escape doing. But and when you're lonely and lost and alone, and then you've got people turning who you loved and you cared about, you've done so much for, turn on you and say dark things about you, there is nothing more painful than that. But God will be your vindicator, trust me, he will be your vindicator. And he would, because he wants to honor you. Because if he honors you, they all know that eventually they will see that God is with you. You know, it's I use Star Wars a lot because it is kind of relevant to how I follow and what I teach and speak about. And he says, the Force is strong with this one. Basically, God is strong with this one. So when you're going, everybody knows with me, right, that when someone, just see them go past here, when someone turns on me or says something about me, I'll go, okay, I forgive you. You know, I forgive you, that's fine. I will not walk with you and I will never help you again. But I know, and I've seen it, God will prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, you know? And I know I can be joyous, happy-go-lucky, and God will give me something better, something more beautiful. And even the people that walk with them will then turn on them and they will see what it's like to be in your state. So don't let negative naysayers say anything dark about you. Keep shining, keep thriving. And in verse 119, verse 8, it says, I will keep thy statutes and do not forsake me utterly. So basically what he's saying in that short verse in Psalm 119 is that I will keep my promise to honor and love and obey you, O Lord, utterly, but please don't forsake me and don't leave me alone in this darkness, and help. I know this sounds like it's kind of like revenge, but it's not revenge. Honestly, it's not revenge, because it's about you letting go and you not carrying that burden of shame or anger or bitterness and all this lot, because it's not your fight in a way. It's not your problem. It's somebody else's problem. It's them who's got a problem with them, and they have the nerves either to hide behind a screen and do this on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, or spread rumors about you. It goes to show that these people are lower than low, because they can't confront you directly and say it to your face. When they do it, trust me, you would either be there or you would hear of, but that person would know it's what they've said about you that is now being kind of come back on them. And I've seen this. People who've been with me have seen this. So, and they say to me, how do you become so powerful? And I laugh because I'm not, trust me, I'm not powerful. You know, I'm a man, you know, I'm mortal, you know, I'm blessed. I'm a spiritual being having a human existence. I'm like everybody else. But one thing is different with me is I don't move in action without God's satisfaction or support. I do not do anything unless God gives the approval, because that makes me more powerful, as people say, than everybody else, because everybody else tries to do it in their own strength, you know. And I don't want to change the way I am. I'm happy with, I'm a beautiful black man. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of my parents. You know, I'm proud of the children that I have. I'm proud of my grandson. You know, I'm looking forward to watching him grow and develop and shine. You know, but one thing I will not do is let nobody try and change my mental state and my heart for my love for the Almighty. And if people want to turn around and say dark things about you or myself, let them talk. Let them people talk. Let them bloody talk, because you will, trust me, you will get what you need. It will come back to them. And the more they talk, the more fuel they throw in. Imagine a big fire, and imagine gasoline. Someone throws, say, a can of petrol in there. That person's been saying this about you, blows up, and you get the negative thing on their face, right? Or about you. This person, you're throwing another can of petrol on there saying, oh yeah, they're two-faced and they said this about you, or I see him doing this, and goes in a fire and blows up again, right? But what they are forgetting is while they're throwing the petrol on the fire, that fire is growing, right? Because it happens, it ignites. And then eventually they will throw another can going, oh, I fucking hate them, I hope they get everything against them because they've never been there for me. And boom, it will blow up in their face. And everybody will see that. That's an analogy. I want to kind of, best way to explain how this works. Yeah, let them talk. Don't encourage them. When you see something about you, ignore it. You know, and I remember there was a celebrity told me and said that they actually sometimes watch and see negative trolls about themselves, and they think it's kind of funny because they know that these people are actually going out there writing this stuff and sit at the computer trying to make up all these stories about them in order to make them feel good about themselves, or to make them feel bad, or to make them look bad. And then just go, and they were saying it's just utter rubbish, it's just utter crap. As long as their family don't believe it, and obviously their fans don't believe it, it's just igniting it. And I remember when they were talking about it, they told me, the presenter said, doesn't it bother you? No, it doesn't actually. I think it's really quite sad. These people were doing it, they actually need psychological help, because they obviously have problems, because they have to feel weak within themselves, so they have to turn on others, you know, and that's the way the cookie bounces, you know. I should say cookie bounces, but you know what I'm saying. That's the way the cookie crumbles in that sense. So it's funny, and you know what? I love my life, and I'm proud to lead Karnak. I'm proud for it to grow. Ever since I'm coming out of this darkness, everything is growing. I've got social media stuff coming up. I've got talks to do. I'll be at Mind, Body and Spirit in November. I'll got something planned for next year, massive for next year. Just finished my book, so I'm looking forward to eventually releasing that. I'm doing a lot more videos. I'm supporting people as well to bring up their videos. And there was me 2 years ago sitting in front of a camera going, damn, how am I going to even record this? And now I'm mentoring people to become talkers on YouTube, for crying out loud. I mean, it's just awesome. And I would never, ever in the months of Sundays ever thought that I would be in this position, but we don't know what God's got in store for us and where He's taking us. It may be a short time and He may take you off to do something else, but above all, praise your enemies, because your enemies are gonna one day come running back to you and ask for your forgiveness or ask your help and there are many people from my past who turned against me and said bad things about me, which are all totally untrue, totally bullshit. And they've now asking me to help them to get their life on track, you know. And I don't go, okay, yeah, fine, no problem, that's fine, you know, because it's ego for them, you know, and they go, oh, you know, I'm sorry what I said about you back in the day, whatever, you know what, whatever. And at the end of the day, my helping someone is only helping my karma, and I know it's helping me to help others. So yeah, it is what it is. So moving on from there, I just want to say, you know what I said about praising enemies. If this has helped anyway, please like, share and subscribe. Please pass this on. Honestly, I really would like this to be shared with others, because this is such a important topic, and that's why I called it such a, you know, I called it that, praise your enemies, because it is what it is, and I want people to start celebrating themselves. So I'll see you in the next video, and my love is with you, and I can't wait to tell you about new things that are coming up, and I'll see you on my next video, and namaste.